Everyone. So for this week, my question is coming out of the Understanding Behaviorism book, chapter 10, under the section of responsibility and consequence of the behavior. So it starts off by saying, practically responsibility comes down to a decision on whether to apply consequence. People trying to decide whether to punish bad behavior may talk about justice or morality, but in the end, either no punisher is given or some punisher is decided upon. So as a behavior analyst, I tend to focus on this final practical outcome. So he says in the book, so if his son breaks a window, his decision to whether punish his actions or not depends on not so much on the consequence of justice as on what I'm likely to accomplish by my punishment. So after reading just that first little bit into that first paragraph, this had brought a lot of attention and focus on, I feel like this would come up regularly in our field. So whether it's a low functioning or high functioning individual, a child who may, let's say, the behavior stealing, people may feel like because that's not the behavior that they are currently working on, they may not feel like they need to address that behavior. However, do you think that they would later bring this up to the behavior analyst, or do you feel like parents have more of a tendency to kind of not focus on those other behaviors, even though, as we know, if a child continues to steal and the parents recognize that they're stealing but never addresses the behavior, that child will obviously eventually learn that it is okay to steal and that nothing will ever come out of him stealing money out of his parents' purse, wallet, money just laying around. So this is just something that kind of came to mind. That's just kind of a vague example. Another example that I can maybe think of is that parents who feel like who have let a behavior go on for so long and never really brought it to the attention of the behavior analyst, and they finally decide to punish that behavior after they have done it over time and they're just over the behavior happening. So they now bring this to behavior analysts. How long do you think it would take for a behavior analyst to change that behavior, to have that conversation with the family to let them know that the behavior can be changed? However, whenever it does happen, do you feel like we give advice to the parents on how to address the behavior? Or do you feel like that's something that should be in the behavior plan, or something that a goal that we are working towards? So my two questions basically come from, if after a behavior occurs for a long period of time and parents don't address it, the person or the individual eventually learns that they're going to probably continue that behavior until something is done. Obviously, since he says, what is the child going to get out of it? What are they going to benefit from it? So I would kind of maybe like some more examples of things like this that we as behavior analysts may encounter while we are either out in our practicum this next fall or just anytime in our field, and how would we go about with the parents, helping them and explaining the importance of the consequence or punishment that we should give the child, and how will that child, helping the parent understand an appropriate consequence, so the child has learned that what he's doing or she's doing is not okay, and they'll eventually the behavior will eventually decrease to where it doesn't happen at all, or just decrease until the child finally stops. And then the other question is, how many do you feel like do you feel like we're going to encounter this question a lot, just determining whether or not we should punish a behavior in general? So, thanks.